This chapter names a pattern, and naming it is most of the cure. Because once you can see it as a pattern, rather than a run of terrible luck, it loses nearly all its power. Here it is. The person you've grown close to online is always just about to come see you. The trip is planned. The dates are set. Sometimes flights are booked and you've been sent the itinerary. And then something happens, every single time. Here's the truth. A relationship where the visit is perpetually imminent but never happens is not unlucky. It's a structure. The near-miss trip is a technique, and each collapse usually arrives with a request for money. Understand what the promised visit is for. It's not an intention. It's an engine. It keeps hope alive. The meeting is always weeks away. It explains why you haven't met. There's a plan. And critically, every cancellation creates an emergency that costs money. The visit isn't the goal of the relationship. The visit is the machinery that generates crises. Now watch how reliably the collapses follow the same logic. The trip falls apart because of a customs or visa problem. A fee, a fine, a deposit needed to release something or clear paperwork. A sudden medical emergency, theirs or a child's, right before departure. A work crisis, unpaid wages, a contract dispute, funds frozen, equipment seized. An accident or arrest in transit. Or a banking problem, accounts locked, a transfer that hasn't cleared, a card that won't work abroad. Every one of these is sympathetic, urgent, and solvable with money. And crucially, each one is framed as temporary. Pay this and the visit is back on. So you're not giving money to a stranger. You're removing the last obstacle between you and finally meeting. That's what makes it so effective and so cruel. Then the visit is rescheduled, and some weeks later, a new obstacle appears. So here's the thing to count. Stop evaluating each excuse on its own merits. They're designed to survive that test. Instead, count two numbers. 1. How many times has a visit been planned? 2. How many times have you actually met? If the first number is greater than 1 and the second is 0, you have your answer, regardless of how compelling any individual story was. Real people's travel plans occasionally fall through. They don't fall through every time, and the failures don't reliably require payment. So here's what to do. Count the cancellations. 2 or more failed visits with 0 actual meetings is the pattern, full stop. Never pay to fix a travel problem for someone you haven't met. Visa fees, customs releases, fines, tickets, emergencies en route. This is the single most common ask in these relationships. Notice the framing. Just this one thing and I'll be there is designed to make paying feel like the final step, not a risk. Tell someone you trust and say the count out loud. We've planned 4 visits and met 0 times. Hearing yourself say it is often the moment it becomes clear. And if you want to meet, make it your own trip on your own terms, booked by you, to a place you choose, with no money sent ahead. Watch what happens to the relationship. Here's what I'd do. I'd keep a simple tally rather than judging each crisis on its own, because each crisis is built to be believable, and I'd lose that fight every time. 2 planned visits and 0 meetings would be enough for me. Not because I'd caught them in anything, but because that ratio doesn't happen with real people. And I'd hold one rule absolutely. I don't pay to remove an obstacle to meeting someone I've never met, however sympathetic the emergency, however close we seem to finally being in the same room. The money would not move. Because I know what happens when it does. The visit gets rescheduled, and a new obstacle appears right on time. The trip that never happens isn't bad luck. It's the product they're selling. So let's practice. Over 8 months, you've planned 3 visits. The first died over a visa fee. The second, a medical emergency the night before the flight. Now the third. He's at the airport and Customs is holding his equipment for a release fee, $2,400, and he's on the plane. Run the count, 3 visits planned, 0 times met, and every collapse required money. You don't argue about Customs procedures or ask for documents. You simply don't send it. The pattern already told you everything, and the plane was never boarding.